welcome to the Career and Technical Education Podcast. I'm Brandon Grace.
And I'm Randall Hust.
And today we are here with Miss Katie George from Transfr VR. How are you today, Katie?
I am fabulous. How are you guys?
Doing awesome.
Doing well. As you know, our podcast is all about career and technical education. We obviously are located here in Texas, but our audience is really worldwide now. It's really national. Our moms listen. Okay, that's what it comes down to. Long story short, though, we're very passionate about career and technical education, and I happen to know that you are very passionate about CTE as well. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got connected with career and technical education?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been involved in CTE now for over 18 years. Really where this came from is while in college, I had a passion to do something in education, but I didn't quite know where I wanted to go with that. After I graduated from Texas A&M, I actually ended up working for an individual as his executive assistant, who ran an organization that had a small part of it, kind of his passion project that supported safety in career and technical education. And so I started working for him. And once I learned a little bit more about his project of Career Safe, I asked if I could kind of switch over and switch gears on that one. And so we started that as a very small organization and turned it into its own company. And now they support and have trained several million students in OSHA safety and workplace safety. So within that role, I got to learn a bit more about career and technical education, things that I had no idea about. It was not the same opportunities from the teeny tiny town that I grew up in Illinois. But once I learned a little bit more, especially the career and technical student organizations, I fell in love. And so from really 2007 to today, that's my biggest passion of what I do, both in work and outside of work, is everything I can to highlight students whose lives have been completely changed by CTE, or programs that are doing things that are really opening up new ideas for the community, and anything I can to shout all of the great stories and work happening across the country.
That's amazing. Tell us a little bit about Transfr VR.
Yes. So now I am with an organization called Transfr. One of the things that we, of course, are most prominently known for is our virtual reality. However, we have won a ton of awards this past year, just because our innovation and the approach of how we handle VR. So when we look at how can we create education in a more innovative way, and nothing in ways to replace the hands-on learning, but ways to truly enhance or have that individual explore in a whole new realm of maybe a possibility that they didn't even know about, that's a way that we can use virtual reality. So with what I do at Transfr is kind of what I told you about before in that passion is how do we connect with different organizations in a very strategic mindset to really advance everything forward. So in most cases, all of these organizations that we work with, both schools, nonprofits, the CTSOs, businesses, we all have the same North Star. And that is to put an individual on a pathway to a career, not a job, but an actual career. And so what I do with Transfr is identify what organizations make the most sense for us to really work together to align that full continuum from someone at a very young age to exploring those ideas to an individual that maybe isn't an underserved population that has never thought about some of these ideas to actually getting them trained and getting placed into a job. So it's a really unique and a fascinating job to have, and something I'm very blessed that I get to do every single day.
So I've just talking with you over the years with Transfr and the way that you, or the things that you do with like the different softwares and things that y'all use. Tell us a little bit about the different programs that y'all actually have, because I know y'all do automotive and some electrical, and I mean y'all have expanded since the last time I looked at it. Tell us a little bit about some of the stuff that y'all are doing and developing and trying to grow to help fill that skills gap.
You know, the crazy thing is that we grow so much month over month that it's pretty nuts. But we are now the largest training provider for the trades in virtual reality by both number and the number of industries that we offer. So we offer everything from construction to transportation that includes automotive, diesel, and aviation. We have manufacturing, we have healthcare, we even have culinary. So, I mean, it's really just a wide variety of different industries, and we are constantly adding more. So, right now, we're even focused on renewable energy. So, we have some simulations that we have developed in that, especially in exploration, even including things like chip production and chip manufacturing, as you guys are very much aware of the big chip bill that passed in the United States to bring more chips manufacturing stateside. So as soon as that hit, of course, we had these companies reaching out to us because the biggest concern is how do we rapidly train individuals to get them into these jobs so that we can get production faster. So that's one of the other components that Transfr does. I like to call some of these things our sort of more of our mission services. But we really do look at where are opportunities that we can help develop out programs. So we have helped companies overhaul apprenticeship programs. We have helped organizations and nonprofits create pre-employment training programs. We have even worked with workforce boards and locations to build rapid training programs. And those are all things that we do that really fit that community need and service. But then, of course, just how do we get to be innovative and prove the worth and that it works? So we wrap around and create efficacy studies around it. We bring in all the right partners so that all of federal, state, local, even foundation funding is utilized to really help target that market and get individuals on a job. So that is our primary, is just, of course, the North Star of getting an individuals on a path of upward mobility.
That's awesome. Obviously, the company's reputation is out there. If you have industry partners reaching out to you saying, "How can you help us?" Get these connections. That's awesome. That's amazing.
Right, and so y'all have a lot of these. They're building a lot of these programs and stuff, and you're building them for schools in general. But you also do a lot of work with other nonprofits. So tell us a little about some of those nonprofits that you're all working with and how y'all's efforts and y'all's work is really driving to grow those organizations and to help build, again, fill that skills gap with people who aren't, high school kids or college kids.
As a matter of fact, when you think about when you're building training for the trades, a lot of times your mind goes straight towards looking at secondary and post-secondary, like trade organizations and such. But in reality, as we started building everything, we went straight to the source of the employers to see what is it that they would think would be of most value in these training programs. And when we did so, and then started working within the local communities as well in those nonprofits, which I'll get into detail a few of those, so many other people had huge interest in what we do. So honestly, today we are pretty evenly split amongst our partnerships and even customers. And it's beyond just education. We even have really great programs that are utilizing us in justice impacted populations as well, which really think about it is there are some individuals that have never had the opportunity or understanding of some of the careers that exist today just because they didn't have access to it or, simply they're being rehabilitated in many different ways. And by us giving that opportunity for them to explore those careers through our career exploration, it has created the opportunity for them to be excited and want to train in those. And so that's how we really got started with some of the nonprofits that we work with. So we work with youth nonprofits such as Boys and Girls Clubs and After School All-Stars, Junior Achievements, all of those organizations that are really trying to help youth identify careers and create engaging educational activities for them to really get involved with, all the way to working with groups like United Way and Goodwill, which right now I've spent a lot of time on the road recently, and I have a really big heart and passion for one of our Goodwill stories at the moment. But really, it really connects the whole gamut of different types of organizations because it is a unique way that hits every type of learner.
That's awesome. And so you also, when we're talking nonprofits, you have a passion for all sorts of different, student organizations and working with the youth itself. Even though you are a business and a company, you work with a large company, but you as a person and the company, you've kind of driven to do more stuff with youth, like CTSOs and things like that. Tell us a little bit about your work with the CTSOs across the nation.
Of course. So it would be silly if Transfr did not get involved with the CTSOs when we're trying to build out all of our programming and working directly with schools. But on an individual basis, this goes a passion of mine pretty deep. So through the years, I have supported a bunch of organizations through industry advisory councils to board of director positions, so on and so forth. So I've actually helped impact Skills USA, FCCLA, ACTE. As a matter of fact, I was part of the group that started the first grant allocated organization of safety and agriculture for youth. So I was sat on the USDA's National Steering Committee for Safety and Agriculture for Young People. So really, when you get to work with these kids, which you two are very much well aware of, and you get to see that spark in their eye where they feel this new passion or new direction of something that they want to go after. And then to sit there and help and guide them, and for them to see the real possibilities and each of the little successes along the ways and the little goals that they hit, and that spark just gets brighter and brighter. That's just something that is, makes my heart warm and gives you all the warm and fuzzies. But that's where I was talking about before, is even when I'm not on the job and working, and you two have definitely seen this across the state of Texas, I am spending a lot of my personal time as well, volunteering my time, whether that be, again, in board training capacities. It could be me being as a judge, me creating mentorships, me doing some keynote speaking, any way I can get in front of these kids and just hear their stories. And that's the thing that, actually, I was, and not going to get all political in this, but I was within a group of individuals even this past week, and there was some political conversation going on. And it was kind of asked to me, like, where is my stance in all of this? And one of the things that really just, I had to take a step back and pause and say, through my career, I have been blessed with meeting so many different people from so many different walks of life that has really created this open-minded horizon of just everything and the possibilities. And I think that's one thing that when you get involved within CTE and you get to spend time with these kids in different areas, different states, different interests, it just really even opens up your own mind to, what could you do next, and what other impact can you have, and where to go from here. So really, that's a lot to say of, everything that I've done with working with kids in CTE.
And I can, attest. She was on our board with TIVA for, several years, and I think we kept her on longer than we probably were supposed to, but we kept her on because we want to lose the asset, because she has a lot of knowledge and stuff across the nation on how to on boards and things like that, but also just how to run a business, but and just having that passion for CTE. Katie's done an amazing job across state of Texas, the nation, and all that. So I can attest that you've done great things. And she's even come and helped me up here with my Skills USA contest.
That's
so
awesome.
yeah, it's really great. So what actually, you talked a little bit about, having a passion for, meeting the kids and seeing them. What actually drove you to really focus a lot of your energy and really pushing to you talk about stories and things like that. What really made you want to do a lot with education itself?
Well, the thing is education isn't just literally in the schools.
Right.
Education goes beyond. And, even when I have interviewed individuals for a team, I've asked them in questions in the interview process, when does education stop? And I get really concerned if someone says, well, when I get done with school. Well,
Right.
Education is continuously learning. I mean, I learn something new every single day. even if it's someone that's doing some sort of bad driving habit that I learned, but you learn something new every single day. That's the key and importance of really what the focus should be for everybody is, again, how do you help create the opportunities to help continue to grow yourself and grow others around you, right? We can't grow as a country, as a community, as an industry if we aren't willing to, look at things with an open mindset to really understand where things have the possibility of going. And that's the other thing, is that it's not always just about learning and educating. It's also like, what is the possibility? I really don't like it when someone says, well, that's not possible. Everything is possible. You might have to come up with some sort of creative and unique way to figure it out. But that's the blessing in it all, right? Is once you do overcome and you find that area, you've of course learned in the process, but you've also explored something entirely different that others never thought about, or you've created something exciting and new. I mean, that's how most of technology is created today anyway. So really, when you look at that, there's just a lot of different unique characteristics, which again, as we're even talking, and like I said earlier, is I have been on the road a ton over the last several months. Actually, it's been quite a blessing to be home the past week or so, except for the quick trip down to Houston for a really cool initiative, which I'll talk about that in a second. But even over the last couple of months, I have spent some time with a few unique individuals. And actually, if you guys have a moment, I'd love to just tell you about three quick ones.
Absolutely.
But they're all different in a unique way that just, when you hear it and you see it, you just go, dang, like that's really cool. So the first one is Transfr has this great partnership now with an individual by the name of Chris Gardner. And oftentimes when people first hear the name, they go, that sounds familiar, but I can't quite put a pin on like who it is. And so just so that you guys are aware, Chris Gardner is actually who the movie The Pursuit of Happiness is about. So Will Smith plays his character. So if you've seen the movie, you know that Chris had an upward challenge to get him to where he is today. And today, really his focus, even though he's had a very successful career in the financial world, his focus today is how do you get individuals, especially young people, the skill sets for a career, something that they have, something that will keep them from even getting too much student loan debt. Well, with his partnership with Transfr, I have gotten the unique opportunity to help take him around to some of my favorite organizations so that he can get to meet these organizations that, we talked about earlier, these CTSOs and these nonprofits. And they can share their stories, but in a lot of cases he knows about it, but how can he help even amplify the story? So spending time with Chris over the last 6, 7, 8 months has just been phenomenal, and getting to know him even more as an individual and how well others can really relate to his story. And we're talking, again, people of all walks of life can just really hear his story, resonate with it, and just him looking at someone and letting them know and feel that they've been heard has really just amplified what the opportunities there are. The other one,
on Chris Gardner real quick. So yeah, I do whenever, because you had him, or Transfr brought him in at the Skills USA National Conference, and I got to meet him. I got a book signed by him. Super nice guy. But he spoke at the opening ceremony. Yeah, that one right there. Yeah.
Hey,
yeah, that one. Right there. Yeah. And so I got to, so I met him there, but he spoke at the opening ceremonies too, and it was phenomenal. He was out there for what? 5 minutes?
Only 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was like 5 minutes. 5. Yeah, and he got out there and that crowd was like cheering. That's awesome. Was great. And so if you ever get an opportunity to see him, but his story is phenomenal, and that book's really good. I read it over the summer. It's really good. Cool. So, but anyways, all right, sorry, I just wanted to pop that in there because that was that was a really awesome experience to be able to see Chris there.
Yeah, not to give a quick Chris plug, but this
Yeah.
book is all based off of what I just said, that permission to dream. And so showing that individuals, there is that opportunity that you can put your dream out there and then set goals and your sights on making it happen. Okay, story number 2. And this is I call him a kiddo, just like you guys call your students a kiddo. He's not. He's a 24-year-old, wonderful young man. His name is Jordan Drawn. He I know him through our partnership with Goodwill Easter Seals Minnesota, and getting to spend some time with Jordan and showcase his story and letting other people around the country hear his story has just been phenomenal. So Jordan, wonderful parents, has a very blessed life with his, especially with his mom. His mom is a mentor to him, but of course had just some rough challenges that sometimes happen in families. He is the second youngest of 6 kids. But while he was in high school, he decided, I'm tired of living a lower socioeconomic life. I want to make my own money. I want to do things on my own. So he dropped out of school, decided to get his own job. But then, as all of us, once we were young, looked forward to one time being on our own, we realized that adulting is hard.
Right.
Um,
I'm
so
expensive.
he learned that adulting can be quite hard. And he said a defining moment for him was when he went back to his high school graduation to watch his friends walk across the stage. And he knew that he probably made a mistake in that, or felt like it. But at the same time, he decided to use that as an opportunity. And so he got involved with the Goodwill Easter Seals program up in Minnesota. First time he got through and started with the program, COVID, and it was a construction program.
Wow.
So that made it even more difficult. But he never gave up. And when he worked with Goodwill, I have to give him a quick shout out on this. Jordan was able to get his GED in less than 2 weeks.
Holy smokes.
Right?
That's crazy.
And so
Yeah.
that shows you also the determination that he had. But the program also even helped him get his driver's license. He had never had a driver's license. So even when I was talking about doing all this work on his own, he didn't have a driver's license. So the organization really kind of set him up to create a successful opportunity. So he ended up doing the automotive technician program. Is doing really well, actually met the love of his life in that program.
Oh.
And he was able to get a job with Firestone.
Oh, cool.
And so hearing that story, at first he's like, I'm just a person doing the thing, like just doing my thing, right? But getting him to understand, like, Jordan, there's so many kids like you. Sorry, young adults, Jordan, apologize. That can leverage from hearing your story and leverage themselves to do that upward mobility themselves. So instead of saying, well, I can't do it, here's a great story of, but you can, and see it can be done. And so that's bringing, the reason I brought up both of those is spending time with Jordan and spending time with Chris. People knew Chris's story and got to know Chris's story. Jordan is the Chris of today in a way, right? And getting to spend time with him. And then when you get to sit down and have a real thoughtful conversation with him, oh my gosh, this kid, when it comes to like philosophy and all these ideas and everything that he wants to do, I mean, his end game project is to create a youth center for kids just like him that creates these opportunities, but also wraps around sports and athletics, because that's something that he loved. And he has such a focus that he wants to create the opportunity to give back to others. I mean, that's the full circle right there.
Right.
So there's that story. And then, of course, Brandon, being that you are the rocker and nerd that you are,
Yeah.
I know you really want to hear about the third fun trip.
I do.
And
I'm
I've
looking
had
forward to this.
a ton of them. But this past week, I got to go to Houston and spend time with Metallica Scholars, which is a program from their All Within My Hands Foundation. Full disclosure, I didn't know anything about it 6 months ago. But again, through connections, someone said, you really should learn more about this. I just so happened to know the senior VP from the American Association of Community Colleges, who's a part of the foundation, and the executive director of All Within My Hands met our CEO, and they said, come on, like, let's learn about it.
And my thing is I tried to be her +1 for it just because I wanted to go to the Metallica event. But, I would have had no reason to actually be there. But it would have been amazing to just go to the Metallica event.
Right.
So, yeah.
And Metallica started the nonprofit and their foundation. They said, we want to do something that has an impact, which, of course, everybody does. But they wanted to be unique and different about it. And also, by the way, when you go to a conference or an event for them and you have some rockers, occasionally some colorful languages drop, but it's rockers, so like nobody really like bats an eye at it. But I say that because there was a proposal that was put in front of them of how they could support trades education, and that's something that they really wanted to do because they all come from blue collar families. It's how they were raised. And a proposal was put in front of them, and it included some like overhead funding for positions. And they said, in colorful language, no to that. We're not going to do that. We want it to go to the people. Like, we want it to go to the individuals. And so through all of their research and everything that they looked at and going through this, they are creating opportunities beyond just funding tuition for individuals to do these programs, like these scholarships. They are bringing huge investors to the table and saying the challenges that we see aren't necessarily them getting the education. It's they don't have access to transportation to get to like training. They don't have childcare. If they're going to go do a 6 or 12-week program, they have no housing for these programs. So all of those little things and nuances that people don't always think about and realize, that's where they want the funds to go help support. So they're bringing these big time investors to say, no, let's make an impact in these colleges. Let's make an impact in these programs to make the change so that it's possible for these individuals to get this training. And that was just really, really special and unique to think about, how they're really leveraging it and going that next step beyond just saying, here's some scholarships for training.
One of the stories that you were telling me about it was, they would build like, dorms or like apartments for this group and, fund it. And then once it was paid off or whatever, they'd give it to the college or the schools to continue it.
Oh, wow.
And, which is pretty cool, especially like, it's like a lot of times, like even here at LCU, Lubbock Christian, like they have a parking lot and they actually have, you can bring your own trailer, your own travel trailer, and you can park it there. That's one way to do it. But, building a dorm for this organization, building a dorm for these people or for the people that need it and be able to have a place to live while they're trying to get education and their certifications and whatever to go into a career that's going to support their family, but they may already have a family, so they need to be able to support their family even though they can't go to work because it's an awesome opportunity and it's a really cool deal that they're doing there.
No doubt.
Sorry, yeah.
And they've done so many awesome collaborations with it. Especially you guys in CTE, all about like the Lowe's Gable grants. Those fund a lot of these programs. They actually have a really cool partnership with Wolverine, the boot maker.
Not the superhero guy. not Hugh Jackman.
Ooh, that would be.
Whenever she said Wolverine, like she was sending a text about it, I was like, what? like Hugh Jackman? Is that what we're doing?
No, the amazing boot company.
Boots, and then I realized it. Yeah.
They release a boot every year and the proceeds go back into this program. And so the boot, it's usually a black leather boot of some sort, and it has like the Metallica logo or the Metallica Scholars Program with it. So it's just really neat that just, the very different, unique ways to think about how do you get in front of and tackle or approach or share the great stories.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
And with that program, they started in 2019, I believe, around there. And it was just 10 programs that got selected, which for you guys in Texas, Lone Star College was one of the founding ones, which that was a really cool visit to. They hosted it at Lone Star College this week. And so they got to highlight a few of the programs that are impacted by it, and just hearing some of those were just fascinating. But it has grown now to over 60 community colleges across all 50 states and Guam.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Katie, I love your passion. Obviously, you line right up with our vision of connecting students to our industry, supporting CTE. I love that you've been able to connect with these different nonprofits as well. So if folks out there are listening, how can they get connected with you, whether it be for Transfr VR or your philanthropic work?
I can always be found on LinkedIn for sure. And oftentimes I'm sharing some of these great stories that I'm connected with. So you can find me there, or you can just even reach out to me. Always email me, which it's really easy to get a hold of me. And it's just kgeorge@transfrvr.com.
kgeorge@transfrvr.com. Awesome.
Yeah, and just your passion for career and technical education and the students and the people involved, the teachers. Like I said, I've seen it firsthand, and the world needs more people like a Katie George.
I agree.
Because she's done so much for more than you know, and she's always in the background somewhere within some sort of CTE program across the nation, and she's her fingers in it somewhere, just helping out. So it's an honor to know you, but it's also great it's always great to see you and to always see you behind the scenes helping out wherever you can in your own time, not even getting paid for it, just because you want to. So thank you, Katie, for all you do.
Yes, I love it. And thank you guys.
You bet.
Yeah. All right. Y'all have a great day, and we'll see y'all next week. You can watch and listen to all episodes of the CTE Podcast on Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube Podcast, and LubbockISDTV.com.